Yep.
Yes, a lot is happening right now in the political space of the country, and all is not well in your former political party, the FDC. What do you make of the current situation there?
What is in FDC is not new, nor would it be strange. The challenge, I think, is the lack, maybe, of capacity. If they have the capacity, they'll be able to manage the internal contradictions and stabilize the situation. But if they have not spent time to learn and also apply the skills which are necessary to manage such internal contradictions, it can throw them totally out of balance.
Do you think your former party, the FDC, has learned from some of the mistakes that were there before you left?
I really hope that they've learned lessons, not only through our own experience, but also through the experience of 60 years. We don't have any party which has never gone through a crisis in the last 60 years. None. My hope is that they can pull back and resolve that issue in the two different ways I've talked about. If they fail in the two, either through building consensus or a fair election, then they're headed for a lot of trouble down the road. Of course, it will affect us to a certain extent because it undermines the trust of people in us as an overall opposition. That's my biggest concern. Of course, if we don't merge ourselves as opposition parties, we can easily become extinct.
If I remember correctly, there is a statement that you said that time will tell who the mole is. General, were you ever a mole in the FDC?
There's no election in which I participated, and there were 5 of them, in which I was not branded a mole. So I know what it means. Now, I was never a mole. And that's why I never follow any allegation which is thrown at anybody else. Because if I could be called a mole when I wasn't, why would I believe anybody else who's calling another one a mole unless I see evidence?
Yes, General Muntu, I understand this is not the first time that we're hearing of conflict in the FDC. But during your time as the party president, how did you handle such?
All the 5 years that I was in leadership, we managed internal contradictions right from the time of election. Because in 2012, when I was elected the party president, one faction actually wanted to start a party. So they launched and went all over the country quietly. It was never open. And there's a group, it was, I think, called the Group of 360. Those who had voted for Honorable Nandala. We reached out, we sent emissaries to go and meet the key actors. We wanted the two sides to put their committee that would go and discuss and see how to resolve the contradiction. Eventually, it fizzled out. The party didn't take off.
Many people have spoken about the issue of the NRM infiltrating opposition political parties. Do you think it's work at play right now within the FDC and the opposition?
Oh, they do that since 2004. So there's nothing new in regard to that. So the survival of an organization cannot depend on the goodwill of the regime. It has none. It must be dependent on the skills of the leaders who are able to neutralize that infiltration.
General Muntu, do we see a joint opposition come 2026?
You cannot combine when you are unstable. It's like a table. It has 4 legs. If any of the 4 legs is unstable, that table is not going to be stable. So you must ensure that the 4 legs are stable. Or 3. There are 3-legged tables. Whichever number of legs, they all must be stable. If they are unstable, the overall situation will be unstable in the event of parties coming together. We keep communicating this to colleagues over and over. And therefore, that's where the concentration must be. That's what we keep doing in Alliance for National Transformation.
What strategy should the opposition political parties adopt for their financing? And what's the role of their supporters here?
If they don't get money, some parties can become desperate. Their money is all over the world, which can be accessed, as long as you are able to subscribe to what they want you to do in the event that you get into power. So you can imagine if the population doesn't see the vulnerability of parties. If parties become vulnerable, in the event that they take power, the country will become vulnerable. So So people who are educated should understand that. I keep saying this all the time. They give money to parties, people who are going to get married. They give money to people who are going to be buried. They give money to churches, to mosques. When it comes to politics, which is at the core of our existence, they seem not to be concerned.